my name is Christina. I am Whilst Iris Snaps on Instagram and Whilst Iris Snaps Designs, and this is a video about cross stitch. This is FlossTube number 5, and as ever I've got lots to share. I'd like to show you today some stitching from the archives, and I've just got one framed piece this time. I've had a birthday since my last video, another year older, so I'd like to share with you some birthday gifts that I received. I have just one single FFO, but I have not one but 2 new releases. So while the sun's shining, let's get cracking. So firstly, stitching from the archives. I've noticed quite a few stitchers on Facebook and Instagram are starting to think about their American patriotic pieces. And I have just one American patriotic piece. As it's fairly obvious, I'm not American, but I did mention in my first video that back in the early 90s, I lived in Barrington, Illinois. And while I was there, I really wanted to stitch something patriotic that would commemorate my time there. And this is the Liberty from Ellen Stouffer. Now, while I was in Barrington, I was a regular visitor to Barrington Library, and this chart was in one of the books that I borrowed from the library. And because it's quite a big piece, I remember having to go back to the library every 2 weeks to renew the book. Long before the days of being able to renew library books on the internet. And it never occurred to me at the time to just go and buy the book. Anyway, I'll give you a close up there, sorry about the glare. And I did stitch, it's probably not very obvious in the corner, but I did stitch July 4th, 1995 there. And I love this. I just don't think it's dated. I'm so pleased that I chose the dark petrol blue for the mount. Now, on my return, I did invest in the book. And I say invest because I think it cost me £2 from the local charity shop. But I think the front cover is a bit deceiving. I don't think she chose the best design to put on the front of the book because it has some really lovely charts inside, and in fact I've picked out a few to show today. The first one, of course, this is the one that I stitched, the Liberty. And then there is another one that I thought would make a really lovely birth sampler. That's Noah's Ark there. And then this one, I'm not keen on the finish. It's been finished as a bulletin board, but that border is just amazing. That could definitely be used on a different finish. And then when I was having a look through this book last night, I found this image. Now at first I thought it was a sampler, but having read the information to the side there, I think it's actually a piece of Ellen Stouffer artwork from a calendar. Now whether or not she made it into a sampler, I tried searching for it last night and hit a dead end. Couldn't find it anywhere. But I think that's just lovely. So all in all, definitely worth the £2 investment. And I had a quick look on Amazon last night, and there are some available on there. And on eBay.com, there were lots and lots available. And in fact, one of them was priced at $2, and it had a make me an offer. So a real bargain. And another book that I borrowed a lot from Barrington Library. I mean, does that scream 1990s cross stitch? But this one has quite a few lovely designs as well. I picked a few out to show. I mean, how 90s is that? Were you a stitcher in the 90s if you didn't stitch a goose? And this one I did stitch for a friend who had just got a new family pet, a cat, and I think I changed the colour ever so slightly to match the cat that they'd got. I think that's really cute. Loads of backstitch, but there was a lot in the 1990s designs. And then I thought this one was really lovely, a sampler. The colours are quite dated, I think, but I think if you changed up the colours in that, that could be really lovely. And then as I was browsing through this last night, I hadn't realised, but there is a chapter about samplers, and there is the Laura Standish sampler. And again, I think this book cost me all of £2.50 from Amazon. Bargain. And the only other American patriotic piece that I can see myself stitching is this one, The Lady of the Flag. And I managed to get this. I think it was a case of being in the right place at the right time. I got it for a buy it now price on eBay a few years ago for not very much at all. But I would love to stitch this one day. And having seen the prices that they go for on eBay, I think until I stitch it, I might keep it in our safe. Now to birthday gifts. I think I've mentioned several times on my videos that my stitchy BFF, April, who is April May June Stitcher on Instagram, she and I participate in 3 exchanges a year, a Halloween, a Christmas and a birthday exchange, because we both share the same April 4th birthday. And this year our birthday fell on Easter Sunday, so perhaps we should have gone with an Easter theme, but we didn't. We decided that we were going to each stitch a Blackbird design from a booklet that we both owned. Does that make sense? So April decided to stitch for me the October 31st design from Winds of Autumn. And I've long admired this design. It was definitely on my to-do list. And let me show you her finish. She literally could not have stitched a more perfect gift for me. I love this. The colour, the design. Oh, let me show you inside. Coordinating fabric there. April has stitched some beautiful things for me over the years, but this is now my favourite. You've set the bar really high, April. I can't wait for our Halloween exchange. And let me show you what April stitched for me last birthday. Isn't this lovely? I remember opening it and our youngest, Ivy, saying, "Look, Mum, it's us, Iris, Isaac and Ivy." And this is Moonlight Owls from Puntini. And the year before that, April stitched a beautiful strawberry for me, and I hung it on our Christmas tree this year, and I can't find it. And my husband seems to think it got packed away with the Christmas decorations, so I can't show you it in person, but I will put a photograph of it in. Sorry, April. Blame Tom. My gift for April was taken from the Maria Selby Humphrey booklet, and I stitched and finished this drum, although I did chop and change the chart a little bit and used mostly my own threads. And I think I gave the game away a little bit really, because when April received her parcel, she said, "It's very heavy." That'll be the ton of walnut shells that I put in it. So obviously I haven't got it here to show, but I will insert a photo. From Lainey, who is Lainey Main on Instagram, I received a gorgeous hanging ornament. This is Stitcher's sampler from the Stitcherhood, and as is Lainey's trademark, she switched out all of the colours for her own and chose a really pretty pink and grey, which is perfect for me. Lainey's stitching and finishing is beautiful as always. Thank you so much, Lainey. This is going to hang on our bedroom door. And then from Michelle, you all know Michelle, Mama Loves You GB. I'd happened to mention to Michelle that I'd never used sulky threads before, so she very kindly sent a pack of red sulky threads. And I may have just received delivery of another red sampler, so these are definitely going to be put to good use. And she sent me a really pretty thread keep and some gorgeous silks from Silks For You. Can't stop stroking them. Look at those colours. In fact, they match my jumper. And Michelle had sent a card that has happy birthday in Welsh on the inside. I won't try and pronounce it, but my 3 children tried to in their broad North Yorkshire accents, so I'd messaged Michelle to let her know. So she sent a video of herself and her lovely daughter singing happy birthday in Welsh, and that made my day, Michelle, so thank you. And then from my sister, who isn't a stitcher, although I may have dropped some pretty heavy hints about this one, I got another project bag from Penelope's Pocket. And in fact, I think I like the fabric on the reverse just as much as the front. And this isn't stitchy related, but I also got my own sewing mug, an Emma Bridgewater sewing mug. And this is what you have to do in this household to stop people drinking from your mug. You've got to put your name on it. And now to my FFO. Yep, singular. I only have one this month. I managed to finish my ornament for April. I'm trying to stitch an ornament a month for the whole of 2021, and I'm on track so far. And this is Naughty or Nice from Shepherd's Bush. And I put a little sheep on the reverse there with the date and a beaded trim for the edge. And I don't have the kit to show you because I've sent it off to April because there was enough thread to stitch the design again, but I will pop a photograph of the kit in here. And so to my first new release. This is Matilda's drum. Before I tell you a bit about Matilda's drum, let me just give it a little spin so you can see all of it, and then show you the top. There is a stitched motif on there too. So how did Matilda's drum come about? Well, I own an antique sampler stitched by a Matilda Isabella Creasy. And as you can imagine, all of my samplers are special to me, but this one is especially so. Matilda was just 10 years old when she stitched this incredible sampler. And unfortunately, she didn't make it to her 11th birthday. She died just a few days before. So I feel a huge pressure from myself, of course, that Matilda's reproduction is perfect in every single way. Now because, I'm going to have to set her down, she weighs a ton. Because Matilda's sampler is a larger sampler, or it is for me anyway, I did something that I don't usually do. I printed out the colour chart, stuck it together, and I've displayed it on the wall right in front of where I stitch, just so I can mark off when I've stitched different elements of the sampler, and if I've made any colour changes along the way, I want to keep on top of it as I stitch. And because it's right in front of me, one of the motifs kept on jumping out at me, and in fact I said to my husband one evening, that motif is a chart in itself, and that got the cogs turning. I thought, wouldn't it make a really lovely drum? And let me show you, it's that motif there. So using that and some other elements from Matilda's sampler, I put together this drum design. And obviously that's the floral motif there. I did borrow some elements from another sampler. I borrowed the crowns and strawberries from Emily Harbin's sampler, but I'm sure she won't mind. And if I can show you the drum that I finished for All Is Calm, my freebie that I released last year. If you have a look at the seam, I did rather a good job on the seam, if I do say so myself. But even so, I still display it with the seam to the back, almost like it's something to be ashamed of, which is such a shame because the design goes all the way around. So I really wanted to design a drum that celebrated the seam rather than hid it away. And that's why I came up with the vine going through the seam. And I'm really pleased with how that turned out. And as you can see, because I probably will display it this way sometimes, I wanted my initials to be either side of it. And of course in the chart I provide an alphabet so you can personalise it with your own initials if you wish. And I realise there are lots of fantastic tutorials of how to finish drums on YouTube, but I've also included in the chart a tutorial of how I finished mine, should you wish to use that. And I stitched the drum on 36 count cocoa dust from number 12 Stitch Co on Etsy. It's Nicola and she's in Australia. She's handmade at number 12 on Instagram, but of course I will put all of this information in the drop down box below. And I used Weeks Dye Work threads, and then the trim is Barn Door from Lady.Creates, and I filled it with walnut shells, and I will put a link below as to where I found mine. It was just from Amazon. And there you go. I hope you like it as much as I do. And the chart can be downloaded from my website from today. And finally, to my second release. I introduced you to her in my previous video, but this is Lucy Wilson, 1843. otherwise known as Florence May Piggin's mum. And I have Florence here, so let me see if I can get them in the same shot together. Oh yes. You already know a little bit about Florence, so let me tell you about Lucy. Lucy was born in 1836 in Bury St Edmunds, Suffolk, to James Wilson, a greengrocer, and his wife Anne Chapman. She is the youngest of 8 children, and sadly, the year after Lucy stitched her sampler, her mother passes away, and Lucy is sent to a boarding school for young ladies in Bocking, Essex. When she leaves school, she trains to be a draper's assistant at a large drapery establishment on Bank Street in Braintree. And here she works alongside 2 sisters named Hannah and Eliza Piggin. Recognise the surname? So I wonder if the Piggin sisters introduced Lucy to their eligible bachelor of a brother, Alfred. I guess we'll never know. But it's around this time that Lucy loses 3 years from her age, and mysteriously a hole appears in her sampler. Let me show you her original sampler. As you can see, Lucy doesn't just unpick the ear, she cuts a hole in it. I guess to make her more desirable as a wife. But anyhow, her plan appears to work because she and Alfred are married on the 23rd of December 1867, and Alfred is 27 and Lucy is 31, although she states on the certificate that she is only 28. Now let me tell you, Miss Lucy Wilson, there is nothing wrong with being 4 years older than one's husband. But I guess you know Lucy's story from then on. She and Alfred have 8 children, only 5 of whom survive infancy, 4 girls and a boy, and their youngest daughter is Florence May. By the 1901 census, Lucy is registered as blind, but I have no doubt that she is very well taken care of. She has all 5 of her adult children living with her, and a servant and a cook. And the cook is named Naomi Parsley. You couldn't make it up, could you? I love that. But Lucy passes away aged 70 in 1906. The reproduction is stitched on 35 count cocoa from Weeks Dye Works, and it uses Weeks Dye Works threads. The stitch count is 116 by 111, so she's only tiny. But I wanted to be very clear, there is an awful lot of over 1. From here downwards, this is all over 1. I don't mind over 1, but I usually start a sampler from the bottom up. But in this case, I stitched the over 1 line here, and then on a morning when the light was good, I stitched on the over 1, and then as a reward in the evening, I stitched on the over 2. And I love this band here, the red and the black. It reminds me of a pack of playing cards. But Lucy's sampler is available from my website from today. And that's probably a good place to end my video. And the sun shone for the whole duration. What do you know? So I will say thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.